What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and today we have another entry from the Squids Pizza Cutter Emporium, all edge, no point. And today we brought the KLR 650 out because we're talking Kawasaki news. The ZX4RR has officially been announced that it's coming to the States, and I gotta be honest, this thing makes no freaking sense. Let's hit the road and talk about it. Okay, folks, real quick, before we hit the road, I do want to shout out today's sponsor, Flying Eyes. You guys see me wear these glasses all the time when I'm out riding, and it's because these guys are super, super comfortable under a helmet. They're super Gumby bendy, and you can slide them super easily inside your lid right there. And I mean, I've ridden in these all day, several times, probably hundreds of times at this point. And they're super comfortable. They work way better than bringing a tinted visor and a clear visor along with you. You can get them with RX lenses, you can get them with polarized lenses, whatever color you want. They've got a ton of options. Check them out down in the description below. Use that code SPITE for 10% off your order. Flying Eyes, they're a local company. They're actually just south of Austin here, and I really enjoy working with them, and they are the longest partner for the channel, and I really appreciate them hanging around. So if you guys could go check them out down in the link below, that would mean a lot to me. Okay, so we are going to be talking about the ZX4RR today. Now, I've actually been sitting on this one for a little while. I haven't really wanted to cover it, mostly because I really didn't think, I really didn't think that this thing was going to be coming to the States. I was fully expecting this motorcycle to pretty much just be European only. It never really made a lot of sense to me why Kawasaki would want to bring it to America, given, you know, the way that our motorcycle industry is and the way that our country's laid out. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you know, specs wise it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense either, nor does it make sense price wise. So let's start out today with the facts on this motorcycle, as we usually do. First fact is this motorcycle is an inline 4, and I think that's what got people really excited. It's a 400cc 399cc inline 4, and I think a lot of people see it as this resurgence of the baby bore inline 4s, like those old 250s that used to rev out like crazy and make a ton of horsepower. And people are like, oh, I really wish that could have been my beginner bike, because, you know, it's got 60 or 70 horsepower under the hood, not realizing that a bike like that does make that much horsepower makes literally no torque. So the specs on this guy are 399 cc's. It makes 77 horsepower, but it like boosts up to 80 when the ram air really kicks in, which is like north of 10,000 RPM or something like that. It's a weird setup, and you know, everybody's like, oh, this is making so much power, it's making more than the R7. It's an R7 killer, because the R7's only making 74 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So it's making this insane amount of power at like 15,000 RPM, and at 11,000 RPM it makes peak torque of 26.5 torques, 26.5 foot-pounds of torque at 11,000 RPM. That is abysmal, especially when you consider that this bike weighs in at 414 claimed. So let's go ahead and real worldize those numbers a little bit. Let's just take about 10% off for there, bud, for the power. So let's go ahead and assume that this motorcycle is going to be making in the real world about 73 horsepower peak, and that like 77 will come down to like 69-ish horsepower. That's still pretty good. That's a lot of power out of a 400, I'm not gonna lie. But let's expect that weight to come up. It's not going to be any lighter when it hits the floor. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this bike about 430 pounds. Maybe they get really close to that 414, but I kind of doubt it. You know, maybe 430 is a little high. Maybe like 420 is about right where it's at. And the real kicker on this one for me is that it costs $96.99 in the US. It literally costs almost as much as the ZX6R used to. And the ZX6R, for those of you who don't know, is the 600 that makes 127 horsepower and like 50-ish foot-pounds of torque, I think. I don't remember. It's been a minute since I rode the ZX4R. Or the ZX6R, good grief. Now there's so many Z's and R's and numbers and letters, it's getting confusing. Now to justify that price tag, Kawasaki is giving you a lot of features. It's got a quick shifter, it's got traction control, I believe it has adjustable power modes, it's got a slipper clutch. It's got all of the stuff that you would want if you are an aspiring track rat, which is cool, you know? It's cool to see this bike coming in with the technology, but I will point out that one of the reasons why people like the R7 so much is it doesn't really have a lot of technology. So with that being said, let's move on from the facts of this case and really start talking about this motorcycle as I see it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say here, guys, that this is a conversation I really want to have with y'all. So let me know right off the jump, let me know what you think down below on this motorcycle. I'm going to be reading all your comments, interacting with as many as I can. I am really interested to see if there are people out there who really want to run out and buy this motorcycle, or if they're just excited because it's something new. You know, it's not all that often nowadays that we get a truly new motorcycle. Okay, so ready for the hot take? I think that this bike has no point. I really don't. We had a conversation in the Discord server about this, a really good one, in fact, that it brought in a ton of different people, and I got a ton of different viewpoints. And I think a lot of people, nobody in my Discord, I will say this, nobody said that they were going to buy the ZX4RR. There is a regular R that's in Canada for a little bit cheaper. It doesn't have some of the technology, but they're only bringing the double R to the States. So that's what I'm talking about. Nobody in the Discord said, yeah, I'm gonna run out and buy one. But we have heard, because some of the guys in the Discord do work at dealerships, that they are absolutely slammed for pre-orders on these motorcycles. So they're already selling, which is a little odd to me. Now, the biggest question is, why is this 400 so much more expensive than the Ninja 400? Because the Ninja 400 is making 47 horsepower and like 30-ish foot-pounds of torque, weighs in almost 360 pounds wet and ready to ride. It's like 362 or 363 without ABS. It's stupid light, and I've ridden the Ninja 400. I actually have a lot of experience on that motorcycle. It's a great little bike. It's a ton of fun. It really is. Not to mention that the little Ninja 400 is going to cost you only about 4,900 bucks. You pay a little bit more for ABS, but I'm gonna be straight with you guys. I prefer bikes nowadays without ABS. I bought this KLR 650 without ABS, and I always disabled ABS in the rear on my smc-r, and the only reason I don't ride without ABS on the Ducati is because it's just a pain in the ass to turn it off. So for me, that bike would cost $499, and then all the fees on top of that, so probably like, you know, $6 grand, which that's a great price for a great little bike. But I hear you in the comments, I hear you're saying that this is not designed as a beginner bike. It's designed as a motorcycle for enthusiasts who are looking to get into the track. Totally get it. Your other option then is the R7. The R7 is 414 pounds, makes 74 horsepower, so it makes less power than the Ninja will, with a bigger engine, but it makes almost 50 foot-pounds of torque. And the R7 is another motorcycle that I have a ton of experience with, including track experience, because I did Yamaha Champ School on an R7. I'm not going to say that I'm the ultimate authority on the R7's track capability, because I'm not. I'm just some bonehead who rode it for 2 days straight at Crescent here in Texas. And I gotta say, it was a ton of fun around a racetrack. It was so capable. It was so much fun. You know, it has only the stuff that you need. You can get a quick shifter for it, up, I believe, not down. It's got a slipper clutch, and it's got adjustable suspension. That's it. The front end on the R7 is like just, mwah, it's chef's kiss good. It's almost immaculate. I really wish that they would make an MT-07 SP with the R7 front end. That would just transform the MT-07. And the R7's actually a little bit cheaper than the Ninja will be when it comes out. It's $9,200 bucks, $91.99. So there's already a really great, really cheap bike that makes more torque in the marketplace. And I get it, more options is good, but guys, torque matters. Torque really does matter on a motorcycle. It's not about that high revving RPM. And I know that you guys are like, oh, well, you know, it's going to rev up pretty fast and all this stuff. And sure, I'm sure it's going to rev up quick, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you that at 27 foot-pounds of torque, at 11,000 RPM, it's going to make like 7 at 0. You know, when it's when you're leaving a stoplight, it's going to be making like no power whatsoever. I honestly think that you would get more torque out of the motorcycle if you were leaving a stoplight, if you got off the bike and pushed it. I really do. It's just going to be so anemic until you get to 11,000 RPM. And yeah, you're going to sit there and you're going to, you know, rev the bike in neutral. And you're like, oh, this thing revs up really fast. But remember, when a bike is under load, it revs up slower than when the bike isn't. It handles completely differently. Now, I've been keeping my ear to the ground on the ZX4R, and I've really been trying to consider what other people are saying about it. And Lance Oliver over at Revzilla wrote a really great piece, basically a follow-up to Andy Greaser's article, that basically said that this bike was going to be destined for cult status. And I don't know. I think he made a lot of really great points. I'm not going to sit here and say that Lance Oliver's wrong. I have enormous respect for Lance Oliver, and I think he made some really great points. And I'm probably the one who's wrong here. But I just don't think enough people are going to buy this motorcycle for it to even hit cult status. I think it's going to be made and sold here for a couple of years. They're gonna sell out the initial run, which is going to be a couple of thousand bikes. Maybe you get into the 5-figure numbers on these bikes, and then they're going to struggle to move the rest of them, because there are better options, I believe, for aspiring track day people, including 600s, which you can buy for cheaper. You can buy a track prep 600 for like anywhere from like $3 grand to $7 grand, which is way cheaper than this Ninja. Obviously, you don't understand what those people have done to it and all that stuff, and you don't want to buy a track prepped bike and then convert it for the street and blah blah blah. So let's go ahead and just move away from the 600. But for if you're going to try starting out at the track, an R7 or a Ninja 400, both of those are great choices. And let's talk about the street squid for a second, because I honestly think that any self-respecting super sport street squid is going to look at the price on this motorcycle and they're going to go, nah, I'm going to just buy this clapped out Ninja 600 or 636 that somebody put a stunt cage on and, you know, a 54 tooth sprocket in the rear and turned it into a stunt bike. I'm just going to put a new chain and sprocket on it, and this is going to be my street hooligan machine. Or they're going to keep the 54 tooth sprocket in the rear because they want to do wheelies on a 600. You know, I really don't see this little baby inline 4 being anything other than a neat project. So I don't understand who the rider is for this bike. And that's part of what makes this thing make no sense. Now again, I really want to start a conversation on this. So if you are one of those people, especially if you went and put a pre-order on this, I really want to hear from you. But if you're one of those people who's like, the second I can buy one, I'm gonna buy one, let me know down below why, what your desire is for this motorcycle and what you intend to use it for. Because I'm actually really interested, and not in like the, you know, zookeeper looking at the chimpanzees kind of way. I genuinely want to understand what people are looking for in this motorcycle and what they want it to be. Now, the last thing I want to touch on here in this video is I don't want somebody to think that I'm just being a Scrooge and I don't want anything new. That I'm trying to stifle innovation here. I don't want that to be said. I really, really don't. I'm on record as saying that the Kawasaki hybrid EV project is one of my most anticipated motorcycles, full stop. I really think that this hybrid EV project is going to open up a whole new world for motorcycling. I think it's going to allow us to do some really zany and wacky stuff. And I love Kawasaki. They're not a motorcycle manufacturer, guys. Kawasaki is pretty much just heavy industries. All they do is they make for moving ships and stuff. You know, they make farm equipment, industrial equipment, and they make motorcycles for fun. And I think that's why they made the ZH2 with a supercharger. They're like, yeah, screw it, let's get wacky, let's do a nice key bump. Okay, let's get weird, you know. That's awesome. And Kawasaki's the only company doing that. And this is a weird little thing, and I'm here for it. I just don't understand it. And honestly, I really just wish that more companies would take the risk that Kawasaki is taking here. This is a huge risk. It's a huge gamble. It takes a lot of money and investment to build a new motorcycle, and for Kawasaki to do this, they must see a reason. They must see a return on this investment, or they just want to be weird. And if they want to be weird, go for it, dude. Make some just weird and wacky because we need more weird and wacky in the motorcycling industry. I don't get this one. You know, usually I'm the kind of guy who's like, yeah, I want to try all this cool stuff, and if I get an opportunity to ride a ZX4RR, I absolutely will. I'll do a full day on the saddle on one. But I just don't know. So again, guys, let me know down below what you think about the ZX4RR, and while you're down there, go ahead and check out Flying Eyes. Get yourself a pair of the most comfortable sunglasses for riding around all day under your helmet. These are the Kingfishers, by the way, if you're wondering what pair I am wearing. They've been a great partner for the channel, so if you guys could go down there and show them some love, I would really appreciate it. And in the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.